Welcome everyone to Weekend Escapades. Today we found something just a little different. Sometimes you just want to go for a walk and you end up finding the most interesting things. We ended up here at Confluence Park between Hurricane and LaVerkin, Utah. Let's check out all of the things we found. The meeting of two bodies of water, like the point where a river becomes a waterfall or a lake becomes a river. That's part of the attraction at Confluence Park between Hurricane and LaVerkin. As its name suggests, the park surrounds a confluence where the Virgin River meets not one, but two smaller streams, Ash Creek and LaVerkin Creek. Every location we visit on our weekend escapades, I love to find the old trees. Knowing these old trees have been here for years always tells me the things that they saw were probably most amazing. As we come around the corner on our walk, we found the Williamson family dairy barn. This was basically its heyday was 1952 to 1959. It stands along the Confluence Trail here in Confluence Park. This obviously was abandoned and left standing here, and now it seems like it's a canvas for artwork. So anyway, we'll move on down the trail and find the next interesting location. Now, the two main things located here in this little park in the valley where these rivers meet were, of course, hydrogeneration, and we'll show you that coming up here, and, of course, dairy and farming, as this was all built around the basin here, the creek basin in this area. You'll see these giant rock formation here, and hard to see, it was way up there, but there is literally solid rock, and there are cactuses growing out of this solid rock. This is just a picture of some of the cactus that grows in the area. So much to see here and look at. And there's also an area underneath that cliff, underneath that rock formation you'll see coming up, where the Anasazi Indians used to live. They found many artifacts and things here, right there in that crease in the rock. We're going to take a closer look, and also a closer look at these cactus that were growing out of the side of that hill right there, center screen. I'll kind of focus right in on them here. Well, there's some giant cactus that are just growing right out of the side of that rock. I found that fairly interesting. And here's that cave we're talking about. You can see it. It's not real tall inside, but it goes way back. And this was a shelter for the Anasazi. Now, the caves on the south side of these cliffs were the home and shelter for the Anasazi of southwestern Utah over 1,000 years ago. The caves provided them shelter, and also they had plenty of wildlife and water here in the area to help them get through these times. Now, back in the 1930s, Victor Hall, the author of The History of LaVerkin, wrote that it was not a children's outing and it wasn't complete unless a couple of arrowheads or spear points were found in this area. Now, this next item that we see here is a old granary, and this was used as part of a turkey farm along the Confluence Trail as well. I've found this kind of interesting. It's really heavily built. It looks like 2x4s laid flat and then joined together, and was able to take a look and stick my head inside there to see exactly what the construction was. I wasn't about to climb up that old ladder, but this was an interesting structure still standing here. And again, it's pretty heavy built, so I think it's going to be here for quite a while. When I got done poking my head in and looking around in this granary, I walked around the back. There were some huge boulders. Take a look at this. So they kind of fell down around and made this little corridor here, and it looked like a fire pit. I couldn't find any information about it, but here's this random fire pit on the ground inside of this rock formation. And as you go here and you go right, there's kind of a little walkway or corridor that you go through underneath the rock. So just amazing what you find when you're walking along the trail. You just need to explore and look all around because you'll find interesting things, as we did here. All of these rough-looking boulders that we're seeing here on the ground that have fallen together, like right there, have all fallen from the cliffs that we saw earlier in the video down to the ground and have cracked and broke and made this kind of walkway through this area. I found that very interesting. These are huge boulders that have fallen here. One of the most common questions asked in LaVerkin is, hey, what's that big building sitting down there in that canyon by the creek? Well, that is a power plant, hydro-generated. It was built in 1928 with a cost of $90,000, and it sits on the bank of the Virgin River. And it produced quite a bit of electricity in the area. It is now closed, and of course, they had to wire it off and lock it up. You were able to get in this a while back, a little bit easier than it is now. And people did use this also as a canvas for artwork, as you can see. But it's quite an amazing building. The hydro-generated, you can see the large pipe that comes down the hillside. If I'm not mistaken, it's about 1,000 feet long, and it's a 42-inch wood pipe. And it's water channeled from the LaVerkin Canal, and it rushed through that pipe. And of course, it was gravity fed, and it forced the water through the generator, turning that wheel, and it generated all the electricity in the area. It was also said that this was an extremely noisy plant when it was in operation. But nice to see it still exists in this area. It's an amazing building, and of course, all the internal workings of this are still there, and it runs along that beautiful river. If you're ever in the area of Hurricane and LaVerkin, Utah, I encourage everybody to come on this walk and hike, as there are many trails in this location, including the one that we just went on. We hope you enjoyed this adventure to Confluence Park in LaVerkin, Utah, and until our next adventure, goodbye from Weekend Escapades.